Hello, everybody. Today I'm here with Brian Lopuk, and we're going to talk about marketing, sales, and how to get started in your business. Welcome to the Listing Agent Podcast, where we're here to grow a community so everyone can interact and you guys get some great information and knowledge. My name's Keith Hernandez. I am the host today with the Angel and Patty team. Today, I've got Brian Lopuk, who's going to introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself, what he does, and what he's here to share today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So just a little bit about myself. So my name's Brian. I'm the owner and founder of Social Branch Marketing. We've been around for about 4.5 years now. I also co-founded the Contractor Marketing Gurus with my business partner, Christian. So I've been doing this for quite some time now, more seriously the past 4 years, but I mean, I've always kind of dabbled in the marketing and sales ever since, I was working part of the family business at Millie's Pierogies, even slinging pierogies when I was like 12 years old. So I feel like my dad never let me have a day off. So
were you a top pierogi salesman?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I was too tiny to even fit behind the counter, so they were making me just kind of dish them out. But
nice. So tell us a little bit. So where are you from? And how'd you get into marketing?
Yeah, so originally from Connecticut. So I've been kind of a transplant throughout my life. So originally went to school in Connecticut, just very small though, not that many opportunities. I always wanted to kind of see more of the world. So that led me going to, Florida, really chasing my dream of trying to start a business, failing a bunch of times. But that really led me to marketing. I think it was really the beginning of COVID when everything hit and we kind of had to reorganize, look at everything that we're doing because the world stopped, you know what I mean? So you really had to buckle down and say, what's my path going forward, not just woe is me, I'm a victim. And that led me into the marketing.
Did you study marketing in school?
No, so it was actually an international business and finance major.
Okay.
So, you go to college and you're like, I want to make money. And you're like, I'll be a business major, whatever that means, right? But it's better than like a liberal arts degree or something like that. So
it's funny how that always happens. We always end up choosing something else.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because everything I read, it was about investing. It was like, you can save $100 and, you can retire with $3 million in the bank. And then you go to some of these meetup events and these guys are like, well, I just made like $6 million this month. And you're like, well, that's the whole thing I was trying to save this whole time, and it makes you just shatter your reality and kind of look at things. So I think that's what kind of, marketing and sales, I've always liked people. I've always been much of a people person, so I think it was just a really good fit for me.
So how did you get in that connection between marketing and real estate? Because I know you originally tried real estate first, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about your little real estate journey, how that started out.
Yeah, so this is really funny. So I remember I was in college, and I just came back from studying abroad, and I was like, you know what? I need to figure out how to do this the rest of my life. I want the money. I want the freedom. How do I do this? I literally went on Craigslist, and they were like, you could do online marketing or you could do real estate. And it was like, be your own boss for $250,000 a year from like Remax. I was like, oh my God. So I remember I went to a meetup. And I just kind of walked in and I had a little bit of experience with the marketing just because it's like a little side passion that I had. And I caught the attention of this real estate agent. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is how I'm going to get into it. From that, I started doing a lot of the real estate, but I worked for an agent. I kind of overextended myself and I made like $6,000 the first year, even though I helped sell like a lot of properties. I didn't think about the money. I was just so gung-ho to make it. But that kind of failed. So that led me back to moving back to California. I was like, I'm going to be a real estate agent again, getting my license. Thought I was going to do it. Had a deal fall through, and I was just shattered. And that's right when COVID hit, too. And I was like, oh, my gosh, you know what? Maybe I should try this marketing thing. Then in the first month, I made $10,000. And I was like, holy crap. Maybe I should try this a little bit sooner. Because this was more than I made the entire last year. You know what I mean? Like, that was the most money I made up to that point. But yeah, I mean, that's how I got started in marketing. And once that happened, I never looked back.
So it sounds like you have a really intense drive and motivation for what you do. It sounds like when you were in real estate in Florida, you were gun-ho. You sold a lot of properties and $6,000. I mean, are the commissions a lot less or
no?
Or did you just get a bad split?
I just told them, I was like, I'll do whatever it needs to take to learn how to sell real estate. And I didn't even think about the money. It probably was the dumbest decision looking back at it. There's so many different ways I would have went about it. But I wouldn't change it because then...
If you have to guesstimate, how many homes do you think you sold in Florida?
I was the TC. I helped do the buyer stuff. We did the fix and flips. So, I mean, I was doing everything from going to Home Depot, buying a bunch of products, checking in on the work, TCing every deal. We did over 30 deals that year.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So, and I made like no money. So I literally lived with my boss. Like that's how poor I was. Like I was like, it got to the point I had to move home just because I was like, I can't even afford to pay $400 in student loans. Like it was that bad. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, but you know, that's part of the journey because like,
It's a learning experience as well.
I would rather bet on myself than take the safe route and say like, well, I'll just get to it eventually.
Gotcha.
So,
So back to your motivation, your
Yeah.
drive. It sounds like you were gun hole in Florida. Now you came here. You started your marketing business. What do you think was the biggest drive that you had that pushed you to create that?
yeah. So originally it was definitely for, you know, money. And it's like everybody wants the money. But at the end of the day, it made me realize like the more you do this, there's only so much more money that you can get till like you're really happy. Like even I think about this to this day, like yes, I want to keep on striving to build more, make more, but the motivations behind what I do is not so much just about the money, but about the freedom and about the people in the community that I'm building. You know, that's why, you know, everything that I'm doing with like businesses and everything, it's about incorporating people, having people come along with you and then growing it together and having that teamwork and being the leader. That's what I find more motivation and enjoyment in. And also like the person that you're becoming rather than so much about, I got to get my dollar and just taking it wherever you can get it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I see there's a lot of young people out there who, you know, they kind of have that dream as well to start a marketing business, to kind of get all that started. What's your recommendation to them or your tip to them to kind of get that started?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people out there because I'm sure that they probably are thinking, oh my gosh, like, Brian, I have like 1,001 ideas. Like I want to do the real estate, the marketing. I want to do this trading thing, right? I hear it all the time. The only thing you can focus on is the character of the person that you're becoming. And as long as you can focus on becoming a good character every single day and then getting in the right circles of people that are doing that, the only other thing I can say to that is just do it. Like I'm working with someone right now and they're like, should we buy this program? Should we try it out? I'm like, the only way you're going to figure it out is if you do it. Put some money on the line. Like get some nuts and just do the work. Like the only thing that you're ever going to figure out is when you actually do it. And guess what? You're going to fail. And then you know what the funny thing is? You laugh at it. You're like, oh my gosh, I failed. What do we do now? What's plan B? That's all you do, right? You just go on to the next thing. And eventually, the faster that you can try and the faster that you can recorrect, right? It's like a homing missile, right? A homing missile's off course 90% of the time, but 100% of the time it hits the target.
Yeah.
So it's just the same thing with life. You're always going to be off target, but you're always going to hit the target as long as you don't stop.
And sometimes you just got to take that risk. For sure.
Have to. Well, that's the thing is like, what's the alternative? If you don't take the risk, what do?
Exactly. Most successful people, I mean, they go for it. So
Yeah.
what do you think, and speaking of risk and all that, what do you think has been the biggest struggle getting to where you're at?
It's the self-worth.
Okay.
It's definitely the self-actualization of like, where do I draw the line of my boundaries and where am I going as a person, which comes down to your character, right? So I think a lot of the times you're willing to accept less. You're willing to take deals you want to take. You're maybe willing to do a job you're not willing to do. And maybe you're not making as much just because you feel like you're stuck. But I can guarantee you it's probably all in your head. It's like the more that you can realize and like play the part of who you're trying to become and not so much of who you are is how you're going to get to that next level.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good. It's good to know. So let's talk more about your business. Okay.
Yeah.
So, he gets all happy when we get to this topic.
This is what I love talking about. Yeah.
He's about to go all off. So let's talk about the business. What types of marketing do you do and then you also do marketing for other businesses, not just real estate, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's really service-based businesses that, you know, need to get free inspections for roofing, spray foam, HVAC, solar, real estate, mortgage. It's all the same kind of service-based businesses I help.
And where do you get the knowledge? Because, I mean, to do marketing for all different types of company, I mean, yourself, you have to have knowledge of these different types of companies, right?
Yes.
I mean, you can't just go and say, I'm going to market for a solar company when you don't know anything about a solar.
100%.
So tell us a little bit how you do all of that.
Well, one, Google. Google's a wonderful place.
Google's
right?
our best friend.
But, you know, I've invested tens and thousands of dollars into myself, too. So it's like every way from the way that I run ads to the, you know, the follow-up systems, you know, it comes down just to doing your research. So, I mean, rather than going on Instagram all day. Like, I'm talking to my clients and be like, what's the newest kind of roof, like, or whatever, or like, what's the newest laws with like solar and like all the new like rebates and everything. So having those conversations, again, doing the work, right? Like going out to people and like, if it's a solar company, be like, what is the laws? Like, what are the programs that you have? How does this work? Tell me about your sales process. Being involved with them, right? Because nobody's ever going to say like, oh my gosh, he's trying too hard. Like, I've never heard anybody say that before. But the more that you can talk to these businesses, understand their processes, at the end of the day, though, setting an appointment. It's just asking slightly different questions. So at the end, even though they're different businesses, it's just a slight deviation about the questions we're asking.
And it sounds like you're pretty good at networking as well.
You had to be, you know what I mean? So it's like, even where I'm from Connecticut, I mean, I moved from Connecticut, I moved to Florida, I moved out to California now for 4 years. I didn't know a soul out here. So it really came down to, it's like, you're either going to go out and find friends, or you're going to sit at home and be alone for the rest of your life. And obviously that did not happen. So
what kind of coaching programs or do you recommend for new entrepreneurs? Do you have any idea or recommendations you can give us?
So it always comes down to like, everything that I've always purchased or anything that I've always done has been in relation to where I'm trying to go. And I think everybody's a little bit different in terms of, you know, purchasing some kind of coaching program. But I would say it's definitely great to have some kind of mentor in your life. Like, you do need, like, maybe if you can't even afford it right now, like, go hustle and work for somebody and then just learn from them. But like, if you can't afford the mentors, like I know for me, it comes down to a lot of people that run hundreds of millions of dollars on ads. I think one guy ran like 500 million in ads spend already. Like, it's ridiculous. I've spent a lot of money on that. Business coaching, you know what I mean? When I was building my team, I had a little bit of a coach. He helped me a lot with that. Of course, you go through the personal success and the Tony Robbins stuff. I think at some point everybody needs to do a little self-discovery too. And then, but you know, again, it just starts where it's like, pick the one thing where you feel deep in your soul, where it's like, you know, what's the one thing that I would try first? Like, if results didn't matter, if money didn't matter, what would be the one thing that I would want to try just because it interests me the most? And then just go forward with that.
Yeah.
So
who are some of your idols today, would you recommend? Who are some of your coaches?
Some of my coaches?
Personally, yes.
So I listen to a lot of Jeremy Haynes. He's a great advertiser. If you can join his program, I would highly, highly recommend. One of the best guys out there. Will Perry, he's another good advertiser that I follow. But of course, you know, I'm always following people like Ed Milet, Andy Frisilla. I love Jim Rohn. Listen to a lot of his stuff, although he's an older guy. He's dead. Wayne Dyer, love his stuff, but his is like a little bit more of like self-discovery. But we have the same haircut, so. But yeah, I mean, those are people that I listen to. Everything from the ads to the personal success to, you know, just a little bit about leadership and stuff.
Okay, so let's get into a little bit about, back to marketing. What do you think business follow-ups should look like, and what do you think businesses lack in their follow-up? Because I know you're huge on follow-up, and I know you can go on for hours about this.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because that's where most people drop the ball. You know what I mean? It's insane how many businesses I talk to, and they're just like, well, we have these contacts. I'm like, well, when was the last time you contacted them? Did you ever ask for reviews? Like, what happened with your leads? Well, I just give them to my team, and then they just try and follow up. Have you ever seen your team try and follow up with your leads? Like, they're not going to treat it the way that you treat it, right? So that's where it's like, when we set up our follow-up systems, everything is tracked. I can see who sent the text message, who made the call, what was said on the call, who sent the email, how long did it take for you to respond, what sources are doing the best, so you can actually see where you're getting the best ROI. But if you always just go on like, I trust you, as a business owner, you got to lead with the carrot, but you can't be afraid to use the stick. You know what I mean? Because if you don't get people in line when they're not doing their job and you're not tracking that, you're going to have just as many problems and wondering why you're having so many holes. But when you're following up, you really want to make sure it's like you're talking to every single person. I would rather get a stop talking to me, you're annoying, than like a, I don't know what happened with this lead. So.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I know there's a lot of systems out there too that kind of help business put their follow-ups into place. What systems do you recommend, or do you see a lot of different ones out there?
Yeah, so I mean, there's always the industry specific CRMs that you can use, right? Like real estate has. Like,
so let's talk about real estate first.
Yeah, real estate has like Chime. They have Follow Up Boss. They have CR Interactive, KV Core, Lion Desk, right? Those are all great. sometimes the biggest problems I can see, especially as real estate agents, is they can be a little bit expensive.
Okay.
So especially something like a chime, if you're to spend $600, $800 on the system, it's fantastic, and you can get so many programs and plugins for it. But if you're talking about the average agent, most average agents aren't going to be spending $800 on a CRM. You're better off putting that into letters or something like that, right?
Exactly.
And maybe something cheap for a CRM. But you know, for the broker that can't afford it, those things work great. I always recommend something where you can basically just store your contacts, text, email, call, and make sure you can stay organized with who your buyers are and who your sellers are, right? So even when it comes to something like, I always recommend Go High Level, right? Like I know I recommend that for, I think, your brokerage too.
Yeah.
But if not, you know, you could always do something like a Follow-Up Boss if you really wanted to use it. But the key thing is just making sure you have some place to store your contacts. Use something like Real Scout to send property alerts, way better than the MLS in my opinion, and like HomeBot to send like home values and stuff like that, or home value leads. It's another great site. And if you literally just kept it to those 3 tools, you could keep your monthly expenses to like $200. You could spend the rest of your time sending mailers, running online ads, anything of that nature, and then just stay organized with the contacts you have.
Where have you okay, so with a lot of those lead gens, where have you seen the most return?
So honestly, it's not about like the channel specific. If you want to go into like the nitty gritty, it comes really down to the follow-up and the person calling, right?
Okay.
But especially it really depends on the market too. Like you're looking at what's happening in the market right now, there's no inventory, right? So if you're generating buyer leads, guess what? It's going to be tough just because of the market, right? So right now, a lot of sellers, I love doing Google and YouTube sellers because one, YouTube, you can geo-target a small area.
Okay.
And when doing so, it acts just as a postcard. So if you could put the same message in the video that you can on the postcard, and then you geographic target that one area of people that are homeowners that are looking to move soon, you can get crazy amount of leads for a low cost, right? $20 a day can easily get you 60 leads.
I didn't know you could find sellers on YouTube.
Yeah, well, the cool thing is, too, is like, you know, it's like a billboard, but it's like a video. And you can target homeowners because Google has way too much information, right? I think they're in a lawsuit right now because they're just like complete monopoly in terms of that. But, you know, the Facebook buyer ads, I still like those. Those are fantastic. Like I always tell agents, like, what are your options, right? Open houses, you can call your sphere. Then you start looking at it and you're like, well, what do I do all day? Do I make business cards? Like, no, you're better off running some Facebook ads. At the very least, you can generate leads for $2 to $5, and then you can call those people and just put them in your follow-up systems. They may convert in 3, 6, 9 months. It's not something that's immediate and probably 1%. But if you're getting one closing for $300 and 6 months down the road and maybe a referral too from it, that's way better than you trying to make business cards for 4 weeks and trying to make it all perfect, right? So, but I would say right now, every single agent should be looking to run seller leads. Get homevalueleads.com, set up some Google or YouTube ads or both. You can spend $1,200 a month and just annihilate it.
So you did real estate in Florida, and you came here, you did marketing. Why don't you do real estate here?
So,
or do you do real estate?
I remember I did close a deal, and I hated it. I remember I closed a deal, and it was after so I went through a period with my agency. I had like 5 employees at the time, inside sales agents, media buyers, graphic designers, and then I burnt out. I literally had to get my gallbladder removed because I was so stressed. Like even today, I got all my blood work done, right? And they're like, you're perfect. I'm like, it was 100% the stress because I was working like 18-hour days, right? Nobody gives you a blueprint on how to build a business. So after I shut the whole thing down, I kept a few clients. I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this real estate thing a shot again, right? Got a deal under contract on the first 2. I think I closed in the 3rd month. And I hated it. I remember I was in LA and I was like, this sucks. Like for $8,000, like I could have made this into my underwear at my house. You know what I mean? Like, why am I driving all over the freaking state when I could just like do this online, travel the world and make the same amount of money, if not, and actually a lot more, you know what I mean? So I think just, again, going back to the money thing, like the motivations, even though I could do real estate, it's just the way that I want to live my life is not like that. Like I want to be able to have my location freedom. I love the marketing. I love the follow-up systems. And I would rather have it where I can do whatever I want with my life and just live it that way. Like in the past 3 months, where'd I go? South Africa, Hawaii, Mexico, Palm Springs multiple times, San Diego.
You remind me of myself.
Yeah, I was in Malibu this past weekend playing volleyball. I'm like, why would I want to go spend my weekend showing homes when that's just not the personality that fits me?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that's where it really comes down to taking a look at your life and just saying, outside of the job, outside of the money, what am I doing that actually fulfills me? And I think that's why I stuck with marketing.
It's a good way of looking at it. It's a nice way to look at life too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, it's not about work. It's
You're making me imagine like I'm in Hawaii right now.
I know, right? This little sea breeze.
So where are you headed next for vacation?
So next, well, the good thing is I opened
Not
up
to get off topic, but I just want to know now.
No, I know. I opened up a bunch of credit cards, so I got like 180,000 points or something ridiculous like that, like just from the past 2 months. So like I'm super pumped. I was thinking I would love to go. I'm looking at Panama. Panama is definitely one that I've never got anywhere South America or Central America that south. So it's like that would be a new adventure. Potentially Japan. I've never been that far. You know what I mean? I think
seems to be a hot spot everyone's going right now.
Yeah,
for sure.
like a little dips in the toes in the Asian continent. Because I was like, I have no idea what's over there, right? You're talking to an East Coast dude, so Europe was always the place to go.
Right.
But I think those might be the 2 next trips. Also, my sister's moving to Washington. So
oh, nice.
I'll go up there too and visit her.
So. Cool. Well, maybe we'll have this little chat after this, but let's get back to marketing.
Yeah.
But as far as for the marketing, so you do run online ads for Facebook, all this stuff. What is the? I know it's not a cheap cost, correct? So, why don't you tell us a little bit? What is the cost for that? And then, what would you recommend for newer agents who can't really afford that? What's your recommendation for them? How they should go about it?
Yeah. So, what I would recommend is for agents, if you let's say for instance, you just get in the business, you have no idea what to do. You're like, where do I start? And maybe you have like a $300 a month budget, right? Maybe $400 a month. One thing you should be doing is posting on social media every single day. Use like Opus, right? AI. Just make long form videos like we're doing right now, and have that tool cut it up. You could afford a $15 a month tool, right, to cut up 200 minutes of your social media. The other thing that you can do too is I would really make sure that one, you get a CRM or even an Excel spreadsheet if you can't get one, right? Like even I hate LionDesk. I'm not a big fan of it, right? But even something as simple as you can get something for free through your broker, like say your EXP and KV Core, or you can get it through the MLS, like I think you can with LionDesk, better than nothing. And then get MailChimp and set up a free newsletter, right? If you can do those things, post on social media, if you can just make a lot of social media content with an AI tool like that, you set up a newsletter and just have a very basic CRM, then you can spend the rest of your money. Like let's say, for instance, the easiest way, in my opinion, is to probably get started with buyers. I think, at the listing agent, I think Angel does a fantastic job, but like he has a whole system, right? It's not like he just jumped into it and just kind of figured it out. Like he has really fine-tuned everything. And I think for a lot of new agents, if you were to start with buyers, I think that's an easier way to dip your toes in and get those sellers for the future. And you could easily spend $10 a day, run homes for sale in, where are we right now? Santa Ana?
We're in Santa Fe Springs.
Santa Fe Springs. So, like, you could say, like, hey, homes for sale in Santa Fe Springs starting at blank price. Like, these homes are perfect and move-in ready for the family. Many of these have 3+ bedrooms and 2+ bathrooms and even have a big backyard for you to run around in. Like, click the link to learn more below. Use a little Facebook lead form. Use Zapier. Have those go into your CRM. $10 a month. Let's say, for instance, you get $3 to $5 leads. Even out of 100 leads, you may only get a 1% conversion rate. But even the conversations, like I swear to you, even when I was starting to do this, because I did these for myself for a while, I would talk so bad on the phone that I would hang up. Like my conversations were so bad. Like I was just like, this is embarrassing. But yeah, but that's perfect. You know what I mean? Like you need to mess up because then when you're at the open houses, then when you're talking to your sphere, then when you're doing these more and more and more, you're gonna become suavemente. And you know those you just have to have enough conversations every day and not focus on saying I'm gonna call 20 people today. Be like, no, I'm gonna set 2 appointments. Like I'm gonna set 2 appointments, and that's what my goal is.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
That's
all
what
right.
I recommend.
No, that's a great recommendation. And again, I think that's, very useful for a lot of, newer business entrepreneurs to kind of take that information and kind of run with it, to grow their own business. So honestly, you've given a lot of great value today for sure.
Thank you.
Where do you see the future of marketing going? Where do you see where the money's going to be?
Yeah.
And I'm talking just not real estate, but like all businesses all across the board.
It's 100% in your brand. 101%, because the more that data tracking is going forward, like let's look at iOS 14, right?
Okay.
Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you can't track across these platforms. Now you have to use Triple Whale, Hyros, all these third-party tracking systems, right? And it's really coming down to, rather than knowing like what you ate for lunch today and like the location and the time and like what you were watching and how your pupils dilate because of the front camera on your screen, right? Like that's going away, and it's going more towards like what do people gravitate towards? Because you know, I was even listening to a girl the other day, and she's like, oh my gosh, Paris Hilton has this makeup brand and it's not even that good, but everybody buys it. She's like a multi-millionaire. That's the point, right? You can even be subpar at what you do, but if people like you, they will buy from you, right? Because they trust you, know you, and like you. And that's the biggest thing. So really where it's going forward, and like that goes back to the newsletter, right? Because at the end of the day, with all this data tracking and all these privacy policies and blah, 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 like all these things that are going up and lawsuits with Google about data, it comes back to who are you? How are you known in the market? And then what are the lists that you have, your newsletter, right? That you can control the narrative and that you have zero problem reaching out to them whenever you want. Because if Instagram went down today, right? A lot of people would be like, oh my gosh, I don't have a business anymore.
And honestly, I feel like social media too is one of the biggest ones that's just kind of growing everyone's business. It's the new world.
It's 100% the new world. Yeah. Even billboards, not to go too long, but even billboards now. I was talking to a guy the other day. They have geolocators. So if you drive by, let's say a McDonald's sign, like a billboard on the highway, they can basically tag your phone if you're on it. Then your phone can transmit that data to then show you more commercials about that business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Nice.
Very crazy.
Whoa. That's it's mind-blowing where just the world is going today. But, Brian, you've shared some great information today. I think you've been very informative. One last question for you is, right now, if you can go back in time and tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would you tell yourself?
Don't go to college. I would have, honestly, because at the time I was like, I was like, maybe I'll do something in the military. Maybe I'll do something in sales. Maybe I'll be a scientist. I had no freaking clue. And then you're looking at these colleges and they're charging $50,000 a year. You know what I mean? I got $0. So I'm like, what? Like, I'm not part of a marginalized group. My parents are married. I come from a normal household. You know what I mean? Just a forgotten town, kind of. And they're just like, you could pay the whole thing. And I'm so glad that, like I took the chance on myself. And the only thing is I wish I took it a little sooner. But I would recommend going out, and I would have told myself, go out, try as many things as possible. Go talk to people. Just say, I'll want to learn from you. I'll work from you. Maybe not for free, right? We'll probably want to do that again. But just going out there and putting your neck out there while you still can and have zero responsibility, like not having money is the actual benefit in your life, because you have no expenses, you have no money coming in. You actually are more free in that place to actually do this kind of stuff and just try everything and fail 1,000 times than when you are like right now, right, where I got like stuff that I can lose.
Hopefully you're still living at home with your mom and dad at that point.
Yeah, no, that's not a bad thing.
Because then you got no bills.
Yeah, if you're living with your parents, like that's your advantage. Like play to your advantage. If you have nothing and you're starting from nothing, like that is your advantage. Go out there and just mess up. Go talk to people. Go try things. Like there's not like I can't state that enough. So awesome.
Well, Brian, once again, thank you for joining us today. Yeah. And everyone, thank you for watching. Other than that, buddy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure, Keith.
Thank you, guys.